So first things first, what's it been like? Just like your first off season out of retirement?
Man, it's been fun.
Yeah.
I've stayed busy. You know, I think obviously you have a twin brother who retires a year before you. You get to kind of go through it with him and the back and forth we would have.
Yeah.
But since retiring, you know, whether it's going and meeting people for lunch, going to events, charity events, galas, I've been doing all of that. And then when I first wasn't 100% sure I was going to retire,
Right.
I went on the media tour. I was like, man, if I do retire, I need a job. I can't be at home. My wife's crazy.
Right.
She hates when I come home and think like I'm the captain of the
Yeah,
house.
right. And you're doing it to her. She's like, I'm the captain here.
I'm like, why are we doing this like this? It should be done like this. This is more efficient. She's like, you got to go. So
Yeah.
that was the main thing, man, trying to find a job, you know, knowing that I was going to probably retire, and then just enjoying the moment, man, doing different things. And, you know, being up in, you know, New England, I was there all the way up until like 2 weeks ago. Just the love and the reception I got from so many different people was awesome.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, it's well-deserved, man. I mean, you're the ultimate professional. And I honestly think you're one of the most underrated safeties that I can remember in recent history. And this is not just because you're here. This is something I have said on this podcast many times. Really,
Appreciate
people
that.
don't realize how talented you were, how versatile, how smart. You were the quarterback of a defense that was very intricate and had a lot of details, and I don't think you get the credit you deserve. I hear you with the wife thing. My wife, when I play that game, she's always like, hey, when I start telling you what to say on Pro Football Talk, then you can start telling me how to, you know, clean the house and shit like that. So I'm like, okay.
And there's no response to
Okay,
that.
yeah, you're right. I'm like, that's your department. Did you, at any point, get the itch this offseason where you were just like, man, like, I want to play? Or are you at total, like, ease with the situation?
Man, I probably would have got that if I went to one of those places where like the off season was cool and you came and but, you know, being in New England, I would go up there and visit those
Yeah.
guys, and they would come in and be like, you know how much running we did today? And I'm like, nope, I don't, guys. I'll see you later. I'm
See ya.
headed out. So, no, I think obviously when the season starts and you're seeing guys out there making plays and that. But so far, off-season program, no one ever wants to do that. And I've never heard a guy say like, "Hey, I'm so excited to go back to training
That's
camp."
the truth.
That just doesn't happen.
Right?
So I have not got that itch.
There was a point. I mean, my first year out, I was sad, but my career, I didn't get to fulfill, some of the things I wanted to do in the career. Right? You should feel fulfilled for the most part. I hope that. But like, I know there was a point in my first off season where I found it really refreshing, and I didn't even realize I was going to do this. Where I was just like, man, I don't got to wake up and like think about what am I going to eat, and like I got to be perfect with my diet. And like it was the little things like that I kind of enjoyed, where not stressing about, man, I haven't thrown a football in a day and a half or 2 days, or I haven't gone to the weight room, or I haven't squatted in 4 or 5 days, right? And like that was to me like the best thing about retirement at first.
And I don't think people understand that. Just the anxiety every day.
Exactly.
You're working and doing a job where the people who are your bosses, their number one job is to find your replacement.
Right.
Every single day. So no matter in season, off season, you're always thinking like, man, did I do enough today?
Yeah.
Like, am I going to be good? Am I going to, if I'm going to start, am I going to be able to still be the same player? Like, that's what goes through your mind when you're playing.
Exactly. You're
single
paranoid.
day. Yes.
You're stressed.
So it's just that kind of like, I could take this huge boulder off my shoulders.
Right.
I can relax a little bit. And then I think for all of us, you find new passions and different things that you want to do. But I don't think anything brings that stress that football brought. Even though you loved it, you enjoyed it, it put a lot of stress on your life.
Definitely. You realize like, damn, I had an 8-year career. I was like, damn, I had a knot in my stomach for 8 years. I didn't even realize it. I was always stressing.
This feels good now.
I know, it does. All right, so the transition here, did you find that easy getting into meeting? You're a natural. I just want to say that right away. I can already see it. I don't need to see you tonight on Sunday Night Football or anything. I could just tell by our interaction, our rehearsal yesterday, doing this with you. I saw you on, some podcast clips you've done and things like that. But I'm like, has it been easy for you? Do you feel good about this transition and what you're doing?
I do feel good, but
Yeah.
I think it came from like the preparation. When Jay got to New England in 2018, our marketing guys and everybody, we came up with the idea, like, let's start a podcast.
Yeah.
And going on a podcast, we would do once a week, but we would do it in between, the off day or that Monday after meetings. We would try to get it in there. Now we're scrolling through Twitter and reading articles of like what happened in the NFL because we're so focused on the game week. So then we kind of built out the run a show each day, each time that we did it. So just going through that process and seeing it just from that small level that we did our podcast at, and then during the bye week, and then once the season was over, going on different shows and seeing how they operated, going on Good Morning Football for a whole week.
Right.
That kind of consistency. Once I did those things, I was like, all right, I think I can do this.
Do it, yeah.
Let me be confident and go out there and do what I can do and have fun with it.
Yeah, I mean, reps are always great. I know you're going to prepare. And then that's, to me, when people always ask, like, I have ex-players, I mean, what do you how do you do that? You got to work, man.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to be yourself and speak freely and be able to be a knucklehead, and
you got to know what you're
talking about, or you're always going to be trying to find a way to bullshit your way out of some conversation, and then you can't be yourself. I mean, New England podcast while you're playing. Woo! Did you get any warnings where you were like, you better not give me any of the state of the union, okay, McCourty?
Man, I did a few things at the end of my career that other people come up, they're like, how the hell did you do that? And I was like, you don't ask permission. You just go and you do it, and then you wait. Like, I was walking through the hall, and I don't think Bill ever listened, but Nick Casario would listen to it, and we would walk through the halls, and Nick would be like, hey, man, when you going to have me on the podcast? And I would go, Nick, you tell me whenever you want to come on this podcast, you come on. But, you know, for the most part, it's like you said, we never really got into deep conversations about what Bill said in and out of meetings or anything like that. We had fun with it. We cracked jokes. We had Vince Wilfork at one time. Big Vince came back. We had him on the pod. We had my mom, a couple different players, David Andrews. So it was always like just having a good time and laughing and joking. And then we would talk about other things that went on, whether it was in sports or in pop culture.
Yeah, right.
So it was fun. But even going, like, I went on CBS during the bye week.
Yeah.
And I remember I already said yes to doing it, and Stacey James, our head PR guy, comes. He goes, I think it's like Thursday, our last day, and he goes, hey, you going on CBS this weekend, huh? And I was like, yeah. How'd you know that? He's like, yeah, they reached out to me. I was like, yeah, I figure, you know, this might be it, Stacey. I need to start listening. And he didn't say anything. It was cool. So, you know, anytime you go, when you play New England, anytime you do anything, it creates headlines, and you have to be okay with that.
That's right.
They're not used to anything coming out of there. So if you say the smallest thing, 5 people write articles about it, and I've gotten used to that, and, you know, I enjoy it.
You never said anything that got you in trouble, like where Bill was like, hey, don't say that on the pod, or don't give, you know, did he ever give you like, hey, that's a little too much information, anything?
I honestly don't think Bill listened to it.
I'm sure he did, but I'm sure like Bears or Nick Casario.
I don't know how no one reported back to him.
Right.
But I think, you know, especially Bill thought the coolest thing ever was when Jay joined the team. I remember one time that year we're playing Tennessee and we're in Nashville. We're about to take the knee and do our prayer and go out, and we're waiting for everybody to come up, and Bill just looks at us and he just starts smiling. It's the most awkward thing, and I'm like, why is he smiling at us? And I think it was simply because he looked at us side by side as we're going out. Jay's back in Tennessee.
Right.
First time playing back in Tennessee since he got released there. And he's just smiling. I think he truly understood that. You know, he's on the coaching staff. He's the head coach. Steve Belichick's there. Brian Belichick's there. He's coaching with his kids. He's watching them work together. And I think he did. I think he marveled at the idea of like, hey, we got to bring these guys together and play together. And, you know, we had a lot of fun. Now, we didn't know it was going to lead to a Super Bowl.
Right.
But maybe, you know, Bill being Bill, maybe
he could see it.
He knew it was coming.
The evil Dark Lord saw it coming in the future, right? I mean, two things jump out to me about what you're saying there, right? I mean, Bill, if you work and do things the right way, we actually talked about this last night, he gives you a little bit more free range if he trusts you, right? So he must have trusted you.
We had a little bit.
Yeah, you were in the trust tree with him for sure. So that's amazing. It really is. And, I mean, you're right about the New England thing. Like, how quickly did you have to learn as a rookie, like, I better shut the up and just, you know, say yes to the media and no, and we're going to play hard. And
first preseason game.
Right.
You come in the locker room. I remember, you know, we started with joint practice. Our first preseason game was against the Saints.
Yeah.
So now you're this little rookie. You got Marcus Colson in practice, Drew Brees. So
they came to
Gillette.
I was there.
Joint
practices, right.
I'm like, man, this is cool. So we go out there. I play well in the first game. I have 2 kickoff returns that go for like 50 yards. So I'm like, dang, this is going to be crazy, like talking to the media. And Bill comes in and he goes, hey, you know, we got the media in here, but I'll tell you one thing. You rookies, you don't know shit about playing the NFL. Yeah, you played a little preseason.
Yeah.
How about today when the media comes in, you all just shut the So I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, if they ask me a question. So as soon as he finished talking, no shower, no anything, undress, get dressed.
You just got out.
Beeline out of the locker room because I didn't want anybody asking me any questions.
Right,
I was a first-round pick. I was like, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And I did that all 4 preseason games just not to talk to the media, to make sure. And you talk to the media when Stacey would come and be like, hey, we're going to have you do some media today.
Yeah.
And as a rookie, that's what you kind of stuck to.
So you see that, and then you watch the veterans a little bit, and you start to learn, like, okay, this is how I got to talk. And
then you figure out, like, yeah, Bill's telling you that, but he doesn't really mean don't talk.
Right.
But he's warning you.
Yeah, be tight-lipped.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Who was, while we're on the subject, the most egregious, or the guy where you were always like, and they got a mic and they were like, oh, he might not listen to Bill, or who?
Randy Moss.
I thought you might say Gronk, but then when Randy came out, I was like, yeah.
Gronk eventually got to that.
Right.
But my rookie year, Randy Moss, everything was great. Then week 1, we played Cincy, and, the big thing was we don't talk about injuries and we don't talk about contracts.
Oh, right.
And the media. And then, like, Randy goes on, like, a 10-minute, like, I don't want to call it a rant, but this 10-minute speech. And he's like, I know what kind of receiver I am. I know they're not going to pay me. And I was just like, oh, damn, I thought that was a big no-no. And then that's when I realized the business in the NFL. Week 4, bye week, Randy Moss traded to the Minnesota Vikings.
Damn.
And that's how the beginning of my career was that. Like, the things that they talked about not doing, or guys showed up late, whatever it was, if it didn't follow the kind of culture and the rules of the Patriots, it was like that, and that person would be gone, either traded, released. I just remember being a rookie and being like, man, this business is cutthroat.
Oh, definitely.
Just seeing so
Especially
many guys
there.
coming in.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Maybe the most cutthroat organization there is.
Mike Teal grew up around
Jersey,
Jersey guy, Rutgers guy. I remember my rookie year, Bill calls me in, he goes, hey, you get called into Bill's office as a rookie. I'm like, I didn't do anything. Like, what? And he's like, hey, what can you tell me about Mike Teal? So I'm like, oh, great guy, led us, blah, blah, blah. Teal was there for a week.
Right.
Didn't get to show anything. Barely got any snaps 1 week, and that was it.
That was it. I actually they asked me about a guy. Remember Bo Scaife? Do you remember the tight end?
Yep, tight end for
He came into camp for a little bit.
He did.
They were asking me. He was my best friend in college, right? He's still one of my best friends in the world,
guy,
right? Yeah. So they asked me. I was like, man, Bo's talented. I mean, when Bo's healthy, he's the man. And then it was one of those days at practice, like the third day of practice, where like you guys make a mistake and Bill would just go run.
Yep.
Run,
just
and you
go.
And Bo was out of shape. And I remember I'm a quality control coach, and I remember going, man, Bo's like 40 yards behind everybody. He might get cut today. Like he might. And then the next day, it was like the same thing, and he was way behind everybody. And I was like, oh man, they asked me about him. I said all these good things, and they're going to cut his ass, and they cut his ass right then.
And then you went to media.
And then not long after that. And so for all those out there, I have known about Devin McCourty since my brother was in high school. So that was, 2007, 8, those are 6, 5, right? Yep. Holy crap. I mean, yes. Devin McCourty, Jason McCourty, St. Joe's Regional High School, Montvale, New Jersey. Rival school is Don Bosco, where my brother went, or Bergen Catholic, where Brian Cushing and company were, right? And we had St. Peter's Prep in the conversation at that time. Will Hill and company, right?
Yep.
Remember
Will
that?
He was a little younger than me.
Oh, yeah. He was a baller in high school.
Problem.
Oh, my gosh, he was. He picked 6 Matt in the state championship game to win the game, actually. But so I've known him for a long time. And then, of course, was in New England, your second year there. That's when, I got to meet you a little bit. So there are some history here. But, bam, I know. I laugh with my brother every now and then because he's like, man, in high school – man, I had to play some DBs. I mean, it was Jason and Devin McCourty at 2 corners, and they had Junior Gillette playing defensive end or tackle at that time. So that was crazy, but that's how I first got to know you. Yo, thanks for watching, homies. I appreciate it as always. The NFL season is right around the corner, so now it's your turn to hit subscribe to Chris Simms Unbuttoned. If you want to get all the training camp battles, preseason film review, playoff predictions, and much, much more, you know where to find it. It's right here, Chris Simms Unbuttoned. Please subscribe. Thanks again for watching. Peace out, homies. See you soon.